Let's talk a little about how typography is set up and how it works in the Uncode theme. So head over to theme options. Now the way that you set up type and fonts and whatnot in Uncode is a little bit confusing at first, so I'm going to walk you through it. Here is your typography tab. Okay, so this is where you set the sizing, the line height, letter spacing, but if you want to actually add new fonts, you need to go to this font stacks, hold down Command to open it in a new tab. Okay. Here it is here. Now, I use Google fonts for almost everything. I find that they're just easier, they're faster, they look good, there's lots of them. So what I do normally is I go to fonts.google.com, depending on the project obviously. I find the font that I like, just for the sake of this tutorial. Let's say I really want to use Sans Sans Pro. It ticks all the boxes that I usually look for, which is it has at least 12 styles. I do like sans serif fonts. They're the fonts without the little ticks off the ends, like feet basically. Serif fonts, just so you know, have little feet on them. That's how you normally see the difference. Okay, but we're going to use Sans Sans Pro. So back in font stacks, I would go under the Google fonts. I do Command F to find, there we go, Sans Sans Pro. This is in Chrome. So add that. Now we have Roboto, that's for another project. Now you don't want to load too many fonts, okay, because they slow the website down dramatically. Now I'm not going to need or use all 12 fonts, so that would make the design look kind of ridiculous. What I'm going to do, and I'm just going to use standard weights because I don't want to worry about whether or not people can read extra light. So I'm going to untick extra light. I might like light, so I'm going to keep that. I always keep the italic version as well. You never know if you'll need it. I'm not going to go for demi-bold. I kind of try to have a big contrast between the fonts. Demi-bold might be too much like regular, so I'm going to go with a black, regular, and a light. Okay, save that. Okay, so that is now loaded within Uncode, but now we need to define it and make it show up. Okay, so back in theme options, you might want to refresh this page. Okay, now within typography, back in the typography tab, you want to go add new. And we're going to be adding Sans Sans Pro. That's just a descriptor so we know which one it is. That's the one. Save changes. Now I can actually use it throughout the site within Visual Composer, within any area of the site because it's loaded and I've defined it. And now I want to say, now this is the tricky part that everyone's like, well, what do I do now? Well, firstly, you can change the sizing of it, but you want to say, use it as my default font. So under Customize and General, at the moment, my body font is set to Roboto. I'm going to change that. Now, I'm going to change it to Sans Sans Pro. Sometimes it doesn't show up at first. Hit Command R to refresh. Whenever something doesn't show up, and it should, your first go-to usually should be Command Fresh. Okay, so back under Customize, General, and there it is there. Okay, so I want all the fonts to be Sans Sans Pro. Save that. Okay, so now whenever, let's create a new page. Just for testing purposes, type test. I'm using Visual Composer, so I'm going to add an element, let's say a heading element. This is the heading. I'm going to make it an H1 tag. Now because I set it as the default in Customize, it's going to be the default here. Okay, so preview that. This is the heading. Let's just make sure that is Sans Sans Pro. I can right click on the letters and press inspect and see what font is being used in Google, in the Google Developer Toolbar. Oh wait, H1. I want to check the H1 tag. It is. Okay, so great. That's That's using Source Sans Pro. Okay, so that's how you set up and use your fonts within Uncode. So you, just to run through it quickly, you go to Font Stacks, you add it, then you go to Theme Options, you define it in Typography, and then to use it, you can go into Customize and choose it as your defaults, or if you don't want it to be your default, you can actually override it on a per page, per element basis using these settings. So if I wanted this heading to be Roboto, I can choose whatever fonts I've loaded rather than it be the default. So that's how you deal with typography within Uncode.